To configure PPP with authentication, we need to enable PPP authentication on the interface. Make sure that we have a proper host name configured. Set up a username of the other person so that we know what common password, what common encryption password to use when the other person is issuing us a challenge. And finally, you must turn on the authentication service with the command PPP authentication. So this is the technical commands, how it looks like. Encapsulation PPP, you enable it at the interface. Of course, the host name and the username is the other person's name, and this is the common encryption password. Okay, and to turn on the service, it is PPP authentication chat. Personally, using PAP these days is not a good choice because PAP does have circulation in clear text, all these security concerns, and in the olden days you have the ability to run both PAP chat, chat PAP. But in my personal opinion, these days we tend to run CHAP, so all the other options are a bit redundant. So this is an example of how we set up PPP authentication CHAP. First, we have router X here, and we have router Y here. Now, when we set up the username, remember the username refers to the other person that's issuing the challenge. This is the common password that we will use to encrypt or hash the challenge message so that we can send the appropriate encrypted hash result back to the challenger. Now, as you can see, the username registered the other person, and this is a common password. Remember, this is a common password that both must have. So this is the common encryption hashing key. Then the rest is easy. You turn on PPP encapsulation on the respective interface and make sure you enable PPP authentication CHAP. And there you have it. So how do you know whether your PPP authentication CHAP is enabled? Now, when you do a show interface S0, you only see that your PPP connection is up or down. But to see whether your authentication is working, we have to use a command called debug PPP authentication. Using this command, we can see that there is a double challenge, double response, and double success. The reason it being the case is because both router X and router Y are mutually authenticating each other. So router X is challenging router Y, and router Y is challenging router X at the same time. So imagine there's two authentication process going on in the opposite direction. That's why you have double challenge, double response, and if you're lucky, we have double success. And once we call this mutual authentication because both sides authenticate each other. Mutual authentication. Okay, and if everything goes well, eventually the link will come out. Now, one of the things to take note is when you want to issue this command debug PPP authentication, you have to do it during the initial link establishment phase, because the authentication is only done during the initial link establishment phase. So when you use this debug PPP authentication command, after the link is up, you will not see all this information because the authentication moment has passed. So that's why debug PPP authentication has to be seen okay, when the link first comes out. So the easiest way to simulate the link coming out if you miss the moment is to shut, then no shut the link, as to create an initial link establishment phase.